Man, so I started this leading horses to water thing on Instagram 10 years ago, and I've made very little progress towards creating this coaching program that teaches people how to get over all their limiting beliefs, their childhood programming, the things that are keeping them from being successful. Because I needed those things. I need reprogramming. I need to learn how to be a successful person. I need to learn how to rebuild my identity, learn how to have follow through. I need to learn how to maintain a better sleep schedule, how to eat better, how to live as a healthy human being. Because I wasn't taught that stuff. None of us are. And that's okay. So instead of complaining about it, I've spent the last 10 years figuring shit out. Why are things the way that they are? The market system plays the biggest factor. Everybody's got to make money in order to survive. People live in lack. They'll do anything for their families. They'll screw people over. They'll rip people off. And they can justify just about anything within this market system. It rewards bad behavior, and overall, humanity could do a lot better. So if we want to actually evolve as a species, the market system has to change. The things that we're incentivizing need to change. We need to change, and that starts with sovereignty and agency. Two words most people don't know anything about. And I have looked them up multiple times. I'm still not even really 100% sure about their definition. So let me post them up real quick here on the screen. Here's sovereignty. And here's agency. So these two things alone allow a person to create a whole new life. When you have the ability to choose and you are no longer just running a program that you've been given, you live more authentically, you're able to heal, you can listen to your intuition, you're tapped into the divine, you become who you really have always wanted to be. And it all starts with a little bit of courage, because the path will not reveal itself until you begin to walk it. So it's scary. You know, you're jumping into the unknown. You have to have a little bit of faith. The more faith, the better, especially through the hard parts, because it's easy to have faith when life is easy and going your way. You're getting the green lights. But when life hits you with that unexpected, you're just about to cross and it's like the worst, and you're like, gotta slam on your brakes. There's a cop right there, and you're like, what the fuck, man? This is bullshit. Why are the lights always set up like this? I'm just trying to get to where I gotta go. Why do I gotta be hassled all the time? Well, timing is very important. We have to let God do the timing. We do the work. We cannot be tied to the expectations of when things work out. You gotta maintain a frequency long enough and it will manifest. It is so difficult in this world to break free from structured norm. So learning to let go of all the self-hate and the embodiment of victimization allows us to be I really have no idea what I'm doing. And it's difficult to make any real progress when I don't have a lot of evidence that what I'm working on is super effective. However, I will continue to keep pouring my love and energy into this project because it's my life work, and I owe it to myself and my friends that have either committed suicide or died from an overdose, or the ones that are still alive that are generally just lost and feel like life is this terrible thing that you have to endure, and that if you believe in a certain religion, you can have a certain outcome after this life. And I think it's important for people to realize that that is all an illusion. You can believe all that stuff if you want to. It allows you to just kind of scrape on by with doing the bare minimum. You don't have to be accountable. You don't need to be responsible for anything. You can just complain, play the victim with the victim mentality, and you don't have to change. You can chase comfort. You can be stuck in hedonism. You can look at porn all the time and swipe a lot and want to drink and all the shit that just brings pleasure now and hurt later. If you're like me, I'm tired of fucking hurting, man. I'm tired of doing this shit to myself. I'm tired of building something and destroying it, and then building it again because that's really what I want. But then I destroy it again because I self-sabotage it because I don't understand my nervous system well enough to know how to actually program my behavior in a way that sticks. So I get frustrated and overwhelmed and eventually get back to being a victim, even though I so badly want to feel empowered so I can get to a belief system where I feel like life is happening for me, so I can eventually get to more spiritual living where I feel like life is happening through me, where I no longer really even look at Adrian as this thing. I can just look at everybody as me, and then I can love everybody, and I don't need to judge anymore. And then eventually I can live more Christ-like, and that life happens as me, and that there is no difference between anything. They're all the same energy particles. They're just turned into some other physical manifestation, but everything has the same base of consciousness. So maybe you're tired of hurting. Maybe you're tired of not being able to say no. You know, you want to eat better and work out more, and you're always pulled in some other direction. You've got to learn about resistance. You've got to learn about self-sabotage. You've got to learn about how your system works, your nervous system, your dopamine system, your stress system with cortisol, and all of these things play such an impact on our life. If you don't know how your body works, you're going to get sick. You're probably going to get cancer. You're going to have heart disease, or you're going to be on medications. I mean, it's just it. If a third of the people get diabetes, a third of people get dementia, a third of the people get, a third, everybody's getting sick. And a lot of people have comorbidities. They got a bunch of shit wrong with them. Why would you willingly go down that path where you continue to eat processed food, you continue to just watch shit on TV all the time and scroll on your phone, you never really express yourself authentically and let people know what's going on because you're scared of the judgments you'll receive, so you are just saying popular stuff just because it gets likes, or it doesn't. It's all about the status quo, and it just keeps things going. And you vote with your dollar, but you keep buying shit that these companies aren't doing well for their employees. They have a terrible impact on our environment. They sell shitty products, so the consumer's getting screwed over. But hey, the investors are happy, so everything's golden. That's back to the market system. People care about profit over everything. Everything. So we can't continue to say we want better, but then not act that way. So if you really want to do better, you got to learn to be more aware. You've got to create space so you can make different choices. You have to educate yourself enough to realize that some choices are absolutely terrible for the goal that you're achieving. When you're chasing comfort foods are awesome. When you want to be a shredded, jacked beast, comfort foods are fucking off the table. When you want to make a lot of money, you got to do stuff for people that's helpful. You got to provide value. Or you can just play the lottery and just hope and wish that something amazing happens in your life. Or you can just make it happen by learning to trust and follow your intuition after you heal. Because if you do it before, you're just going to get led into a bunch of bullshit thinking that these are the things that you want and that you need to complete yourself. But once you're healed, you're complete, you no longer need things, and you can follow your earnest desires, your intuition, your God-given insights without all the noise. You gain clarity. And when you have all that, you can finally build the foundation to your life. You can do that. I do that over the 6 courses I've created, and I created them because I always wanted to be a better person that could grow their own food, live within a community, build a lot of things, and just live better. But I realized I'm not accountable enough. I can't be disciplined enough. I need reprogramming. If I'm going to live in a community and be around other people, I have to learn that there's work that needs to be done. I can't just do nothing because I don't feel like it. You start to lose some things that you take for granted. There's a lot of people that only do stuff when they're motivated, which means they do it when they feel like it. That's not a way to produce results because nobody feels like anything all the time. So you got to get over the thought of motivation for anything. It's a shitty thing we shouldn't even be taught about that creates this illusion that you have to feel like waking up and going to the gym. I can't believe that these guys wake up and do this every day. Yeah, nobody just wants to do that shit all the time. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, yeah, I'm going to crush this because I'm building my identity and reminding myself I'm an amazing person. But ultimately, not everybody feels like doing the stuff they're doing. And that's okay because you do it anyways. And the funny part is after you get started, and you get through the initial resistance of not wanting to do something, it's like magic, boom, motivation appears again. And you're grateful that you did it. It's like going to the gym. You might not want to show up, but after you get warmed up and you get going and you're looking at yourself in the mirror afterwards and you got the pump, it's like, damn, I'm so glad I went to this place. This is amazing. So if you're interested in learning how to claim your sovereignty and agency, we got to go over in the first course your phone and how your phone is preventing you from being your best self. Then we have to go through the great unlearning. Because after you learn your phone a little bit more, you realize you can't really integrate the things that I'm teaching because of this entire programming you've experienced. So in the great unlearning, we will go over A to Z, human behaviors, society, culture. How have we been taught certain words and emotions that allow us to be manipulated into great consumers instead of sovereign beings? So we go over survival mode and how to get into a thriving mode in the great unlearning. Then that leads us to what I call learning to learn, where I teach people about genius and their own genius. We're all born with one. In Latin, genius means your spirit guide, basically. So take that for what it's worth. We all have one. We're born with one. No one's born a genius. You're born with a genius. It's your higher self that you will listen to, that you can learn to listen to when you become more aware. It's that little voice that's poking you on the shoulder like, hey, you sure you want to do that? Maybe we should do this. Like, follow the path. But you can't because of programming. So there's that voice, and it creates cognitive dissonance. You begin to hate yourself because you're not living in alignment. Everything feels so difficult all the time, and life just genuinely sucks until you learn these things. And then after you learn that you're a genius and you learn how to learn in a learning style and you learn that you are a genius, then we learn how to implement that genius so you can actually begin learning the things you want to learn, which then I teach you in Leading Horses to Water, which is all the disciplines. We learn how to live like the person we've always wanted to be. And you can't just learn those things. You have to unlearn all the things stopping you from doing those things first. And then we will get into the courses that are more about community. Because the first 3 or 4 courses are all about you changing as a person. And then we can get into how you can teach these things to other people. Because my goal is for you to master this information and want to give back to other people that are still asleep, other people that are still suffering, people that want to change and have attempted but get pulled back into their programming. This isn't going to be for people that cannot and have never escaped victim mentality. This is only going to trigger them. This is their... this is not... Victims are going to stay victims until they've learned that that's just a choice. So nothing that can happen there. For people that have wanted to change and can't, like me, for so long, I've changed gradually. I've evolved. but I haven't embodied the entire transformation. So teaching this to you is why I'm creating all of this, because if I can teach this to someone else, then I have finally embodied and learned and mastered it. And then the last part is about community building and relationships in that aspect. So you've got the personal relationships in the beginning and teaching to teach, and then the whole community building afterwards, where we can learn about permaculture or who knows what, But the end goal is to build communities with other people using a religious institution as a placeholder, because you get different rules if you follow a religion. So creating the religion of solutionism, and then figuring out what laws we can manipulate into our own benefit, and like how we could maybe use certain building materials or find ways to push what we demand, that we know that's good for us, to write them into some sort of law of living that people for generations can then follow without too much interference from all the bullshit going on, because not everybody's going to want to live like this. A lot of people will dig deeper. They will hold their position, they will fight you and claim that you're all of these things. And that's fine, Some people don't want to change. They're too scared. They're not capable. They can't be honest with themselves. That's okay. Now, this isn't for everybody. Not everybody gets to be a badass that rocks life. That's like, okay, these things make sense. People choose to stay blind. So, you don't have to do that. If you've always wanted to be a part of community, but it sounds like too much work, or you've always wanted to build a business for yourself, or just look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of yourself, the opportunity's there. It's always been here. So I invite you to do some work. Watch some of these videos and do the exercises and watch yourself transform.